Frieza was growing bored with the amused looks of the monkeys as Goku walked over to the group. "Sorry guys, didn't really talk with you before I started fighting, but it's good to be back." Krillin threw a nervous glance toward Frieza, who met his gaze and did not really give him any attention as he glanced at Trunks. "Goku!" Krillin screamed as he rushed and jumped on the Super Saiyan, catching him off guard as they fell to the ground. "Oh my god Goku, we thought you had died before King Kai told us you weren't." Krillin rushed through many things that had happened while he was away, and Goku could only hold his best friend laughing. Frieza's curiosity was not going to let Trunks go just yet, because if this was an actual time travel then the possibilities were endless. So the former Tyrant approached the boy from the future. "Trunks, was it?" he said in his usual smug tone. "Can we just use your time machine?" He asked the question without any hint of malice. Well, none that the boy could see, he hoped. "Listen here Frieza," Trust said, still in his Super Saiyan form as he stared down at him. The prospect of beating a Saiyan to a pulp was just seeming enticing to Frieza till he felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked to his side and the now familiar silhouette of Goku came into view. "I'm sure he is just curious, Trunks. Right?" Frieza could hear the accusation in the question. Not that it wasn't warranted. Goku had found a way to dissuade Frieza from doing bad things by just pulling at some strings. Frieza let out a scoff, his tail smacking Goku's butt. "Hey!" the Saiyan shouted, much to Frieza's amusement. "Well, yes, it was just curiosity." "What did you say happened to me in the future?" Trunks seemed to look at Goku and then at him, and the answer was simple enough. "So Goku killed me then?" Frieza was now thinking as he placed a finger on his chin. "So what happens now that I'm alive?" Trunks really didn't know what would happen. Many theories were going through his head. He was Bulma's son after all, and it didn't take him long to figure out what had happened. This is a different timeline. That grabbed everyone's attention, especially Bulma, who arrived at the group after having been told to stay behind by Krillin and a glare from Vegeta. "Who's the new guy?" she asked, looking at Trunks up close. He seemed familiar and was wearing Capsule Corp merch. But he was a Super Saiyan. She looked at him closely and he only seemed to gaze at her for a moment before turning away back to Goku. "So Goku, what's the deal with you and Frieza?" Trunks asked, not really still trusting the being, especially with how his eyes looked as if they were piercing his soul. All while he did it while a smile. "He was a guy, right?" Trunks asked himself, but he didn't look like it. But that wasn't going to get him to let down his guard. "Oh, me and him," Goku nervously said, chuckling as he started scratching the back of his head, not really answering the question. Frieza however answered it for him as his tail went to wrap around the Saiyan, much to the shock of everyone. "Dad?" Gohan asked, confused. "Kai is going to kill you," Bulma said nonchalantly. The other Z fighters all rushed to stop her, but they were more surprised that Frieza didn't do anything. Even Vegeta was now nervous. If someone as powerful as Frieza threw a tantrum, then this planet wouldn't be here for long. "Oh, that human made of his," Frieza said, looking at his nails, not really paying the worried faces of the Z fighters any mind. "I promised Goku I wouldn't erase her along with this planet. So be grateful." They collectively let out a sigh of relief, even Bulma, as they could see for now that Frieza really didn't care. What they didn't know is that Frieza had already thrown a tantrum about it back on planet Yardit, which brought a shiver to Goku's spine as he remembered how mad the Tyrant had been before he calmed down. The elder Yardit had come into instant transmission in front of Goku, and before Frieza could do anything he had been put unconscious. Goku had rushed in to catch him before he fell with a look of surprise. They both knew that the elder Yardit was far weaker than them, but he was learning more and more that power wasn't everything. It had happened a couple of times till Frieza had reluctantly stopped doing it because of the embarrassment of constantly being put to sleep by a being far weaker than them. In his eyes that was defeat over and over again. This had only pushed him further to train with Goku. firstly mostly trying to beat his anger into him, but then he learned that the Saiyan had stated as much back on Namek and now he felt even more stupid. Trunks looked over Frieza once again. You seem good for now. But if you betray them, I promise you I'll be the last thing you see. Back in the day Frieza usually would have scoffed at such a statement, but a Saiyan and a Yardit had made him eat his words on multiple occasions even when one was far weaker than him. It was a fundamental lesson that the elder Yardit had focused intently on him. Very well then Trunks, if I do such an action I would look forward to the battle. Frieza met his glare with a smug smile. Trunks let out a breath. Just make sure that Goku takes that medicine, Trunks said to everyone, which confused them at first before he had to go on again about what it was about. Goku then went on to talk about the androids that Trunks had told him about. Whenever he was wrong on straying from the information, Trunks was there to correct him and fill them in. To say that everyone was shocked would be an understatement, but two glaring things that stood out were making sure Goku takes his medicine at all cost and who were Trunks' parents. It didn't take long to figure it out, and as Bulma was about to ask, but Trunks glared at her, then it softened into a soft smile. That was all the answer she needed. That was Trunks. That was her son. She found herself frozen as he said his goodbyes before he instantly took off into the distance at a frightening speed. Vegeta was even more shocked as he thought, you mean to tell me that half-breed I had with the human became a Super Saiyan? He was shocked before he found a way to justify it for himself. Of course he would. He is the son of Prince Vegeta. He watched as Trunks flew into the distance and Bulma finally got her bearings. Trunks! Trunks! She screamed at him, but he was already a blur in the distance. Trunks had decided that it was fine enough for them to interact after he saw Frieza come down in a different way than before. Then Goku killed King Cold, which he would have done in his timeline later, but nothing was working as he expected and his head was already running through all the butterfly effects of this. But one thing stood out the most. Whatever happened in this timeline couldn't help him, so he would have to do it himself. He made mental note to check on them later just in case all of his theories had been wrong. So we meet back on that island in 3 years. Dian asked just to confirm, getting nods from everyone. Well then let's be sure to be ready. They all said their final goodbyes and then before long everyone had cleared out, only leaving a still nervous Gohan with Goku and Frieza. Frieza walked up to Gohan, looking him up and down, and the small boy was just a bundle of nerves as he felt him poking and probing with his eyes. So this is your spawn, Goku? He asked just to confirm, but he already knew. Goku had spoken to him enough and in high regard, not so much for his maid though. Quite impressive, but I believe we could make better, Frieza said nonchalantly as he turned away from the boy and walked to the Saiyan that was picking up the pod. Goku almost dropped the ship when Frieza said the statement, further amusing the former tyrant. Well, I tire of all these interactions. Let us go to your residence. I expect a lot from a being so powerful. Goku flew up and nervously scratched his head. Go and let's get going, he said to his still nervous son. Gohan was hesitant before he slowly flew up to his father and Frieza. Then let's head home, Goku said.